Bonjour à tous. Aujourd'hui, une petite vidéo un peu différente. On se dirige vers chez Elisabeth qui fait un voyage assez impressionnant. On avait envie de vous la présenter, de vous présenter son véhicule. Donc, on y va.
Bonjour.
Elisabeth, maybe we'll start by a simple introduction. Who are you?
Okay, I am Elisabeth and I'm from Australia. Originally I'm from Germany, but 30 years ago approximately, I migrated to Australia. And when I came close to retirement, I thought, okay, well, where do I want to be? I'm not really sure. So I thought I have to find that out. And the best way for me was to go on a long journey. So that's how that came.
Okay, so you just mentioned that the idea of a long or big journey came when you came close to retirement, right?
This is correct.
How long was it before retirement?
I would say about the initial idea came perhaps 5 years before retirement, when I was in Australia, northwest, very far away from everything, and on a parking spot of a shopping center I saw a German car parked saying traveling from Germany to Australia. And I couldn't really imagine how you could do this, but the steering wheel was on the wrong side and the number plate was German, so I put a little note on the window, come visit me, and they came visiting me and they told me all about their story. So that is the first thing. And then I didn't really think too much about it anymore for quite some time. But later on it popped up again when I was thinking of buying myself a little camper van, running through Australia. Then I thought, why not go a bit further?
Yeah, think wider.
Yeah.
Could we say that you were a seasoned traveler before that you had a lot of experience of traveling?
Yes, I traveled all my life, but not long term. So the longest I was away was 3 months when I traveled through the United States in my mid-20s. But I traveled a lot by myself as well. So in early years, I rode a motorbike. And I rode a motorbike alone with Portugal or to Sicily. So traveling alone was not something that I was scared of at all. So, or with other people together, whichever.
Okay, can you now perhaps describe a little bit the outline of your trip? That is, the countries you've been through.
Well, I traveled from Port Hedland, where I lived in Australia, to Perth. That is 1,300 kilometers to ship the car. And then I rented another camper van and traveled with that one to Sydney, another 4,000 kilometers. So the distances in Australia are a little bit more. And then I had to wait until my car was shipped or would arrive in Vladivostok. So I shipped the car to Vladivostok in Russia. Vladivostok is just a little bit north of North Korea, on the other side of the Japanese Sea. Once the car arrived after 3 weeks, so it got lost, or I don't know what happened to my car. I had to wait for it for more than 3 weeks to come. My dog and I traveled along the Chinese border, through Russia to the Lake Baikal, and then down to Mongolia, through Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, along the Afghanistan border, through Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, then into Iran. But when I was in Mongolia, I heard that finally Saudi Arabia would open its borders for tourists in September 19. It was the first time they issued tourist visas. Before that, they have never issued tourist visas, so I changed my route. So initially I wanted to go from Iran to Turkey or Azerbaijan, Georgia, that way. But so I changed my direction, set across to the Emirates. My son visited me there. Together we traveled into Oman, and then from back to the Emirates, and then I went into Saudi, where COVID caught up with me. So that's the main part of my journey.
How long was this Asian leg?
I've left Vladivostok on the 25th of June. And I left Saudi Arabia March 21. So nearly two years
later.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, okay, then I still went to Emirates again. So I left and from then I flew to Germany. So that was Exactly 2 years. In September still, the border was closed, so I decided to ship the car to Germany. So and then I traveled first already. I had bought myself another car in Germany, and I traveled through the eastern countries. Then when my car arrived, I traveled through France, Portugal, Spain, and some other little countries there. And then and then over Christmas, with friends I met in Saudi, we traveled together to the North Cape and spent there two weeks at the North Cape. Okay. And then I wanted to again travel to Iran, but then Putin started this war, so yeah.
Okay, so
I turned around.
It's after Putin started the war that you decided to come here in South America. Oh, yes. Okay, so that's very recent.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. No.
Okay, I think there is no need to insist on the South American leg because it just started. Except the fact that you not really felt at ease with Colombia, from what you said. There's not much else to say.
No, Colombia did not like me. So, and I think it really depended on me, on my attitude. I went there because, I wasn't really ready for South America yet, I think.
Perhaps, yeah.
Because I was still with my thoughts. I was still going back to Iran, Saudi Arabia again, which I really loved very, very much. And I think I was not able to really embrace this South American experience at that time. The purpose of my travel for me was partially to find out where do I want to spend. I'm retired now.
Yes.
Where do I want to kind of settle at the end? Do I want to settle in Australia or do I want to settle in Europe?
Yeah.
And that has kind of showed itself to me what I want to do now. It has developed during that journey. Another part was to get to know myself better.
Yeah, and maybe you've achieved
and
that
I kind
already.
of achieved that now. So my purpose for the journey, I have to find a new one. I have to define it new.
Maybe you should see it differently, like a pure discovery for leisure, just for the sake of discovery, and not for the purpose.
Not for purpose.
Yeah, you have to change your goal, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I think in a way you have answered the question I had here. There is, how do you assess your journey now as compared maybe with the initial expectations you had regarding this journey? Do you think you've met your expectations, or did you have specific expectations or not?
I did not know what to expect. I really did not know what to expect. There was a lot of fear involved initially, of course.
Yes.
Lots of curiosity, of course, as well. But that whole extent of the journey, this extreme fulfillment, these times of incredible joy, this time of satisfaction, this as well, the sense of getting to know people on the way and being able to accept it all and embrace it. And I mean, I don't know, you know it's, I'm sure as well, that we are always kind of confronted with our prejudices. If you know, of course, you don't have any prejudices, but that's what you think. But you have to put them down one after the other. I thought, the Russians, they are so rough, they are dangerous, and they are so nice people. So things like this happen all the time. And yes, I didn't expect to.
Okay, in that respect, you can say, or to phrase it differently, that you discovered something that you didn't specifically expect.
Yes.
And this is maybe the very the most important thing, the most important lesson you can derive from the journey. Okay. Speaking about your fears, your initial fears, so can you make a statement now about the difficulty for a single retired woman to travel like you do?
So maybe I want to add something. You're not traveling totally alone.
No, I have a four-legged friend with me. When I was in Australia thinking of this journey, I was shaken between, or always pendling between utter joy and I can't wait and I want to go, and on the other side I was scared shitless at times.
Yeah.
And I had to sit down and think, how do I address my fears? What am I scared of? And two main things was, one was the choice of the car, that I had to have a car where I can go from bed onto the driver's seat without problems, so that I can, should any danger arise, I'm in bed sleeping anytime. I don't need to get outside, run around, and I can go into my car, drive off. And the other thing was I got myself a dog. I did not want to have a dog anymore after my last dogs had died, because when I retired, I want to travel, so I don't need a dog. But now I have a dog because I am traveling. And it has two sides to it, traveling with a dog. On one side, he gives me comfort, he gives me company. I can talk to him, I don't talk to myself, but it's a hindrance as well. But I think in general, I don't think I would do it again. I know you can do it yourself. But yeah.
Yeah. What other problem or nuisance could you imagine, or could you explain regarding the fact that you travel with a dog?
Sometimes at borders, it's more involved. I had two extremely difficult border crossings because of the dog. In one time, they didn't want to give me the dog because I didn't import the dog. I can't export it. And another time, it was an 11-hour border crossing from Saudi Arabia into the Emirates. It was a very difficult border crossing, partially as well because of the dog. There were other reasons as well, but most of the time was because of the dog. Another problem is when I was traveling through Central Asia, when you go out, you can never take the dog. You cannot go into a coffee shop. You can't, you always have to tie up the dog outside. And then because people find my dog so nice, I was always worried that they would steal him. In very strict Islamic countries, the dog is haram. So they always liked my dog. They were nice with the dog, but I could not. Saudi Arabia, where I was more than a year, very often invited into Bedouin camps. So the dog had most of the time, he had to be in the car.
Back to my initial question about the difficulty of the trip, and specifically for single women of your age.
How old are you?
68. I actually think being my age is a big advantage, because in these countries, Central Asian countries or the Arabic countries, an elderly, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
A woman my age is very high esteemed.
Exactly,
right?
respected.
Very, very respected. And I can honestly say that nowhere have I been molested, nowhere have I been talked to disrespectfully, which a funny thing just came to my mind. In Mongolia, I got stuck with my car, and the guy had to repair my car. And while he was repairing my car, his wife made me something to eat, and when I left, he pinched me in the breast. I'm not really sure.
Really?
I was thickly wrapped up. It was cold. But otherwise, I've been never talked to disrespectfully, and I've always been, I can honestly say I was treated well. I was welcomed, and I thought as well, in countries where we think women aren't respected so well, and the single woman comes traveling, she will not be welcomed very nicely. But I was traveling through villages, the women were doing these ululating sounds, and the men were all showing me the thumbs up. Everywhere where I went, I was treated with utmost respect.
Because difficulty is not, in my opinion, is not only in relation with the way you are welcomed or not by local people, but also to your own self. And is it, for instance, difficult for a single woman of your age from a physical or psychological standpoint?
Yes, because usually travelers are two or more, and when we are a little depressed, sad,
or when we have a physical and when we have a physical issue as well.
Yeah,
you can only rely on your own.
I can say that I was very lucky not to have any physical issues until I got into Germany. Then I had a physical issue, but all the way I was healthy and so there was no problem in that sense. On the other hand, I think as being a little bit older and more mature, it's easier for me to be by myself. I don't know if this is true or if it is just myself. Of course, it was difficult at times in countries like Russia, the whole Central Asia, where people do not speak English or any other language I could converse with. Sometimes I was not having a conversation for 2 or 3 weeks on an end, and I talked a lot with my dog, and that was difficult. And I was very happy when I then found people like me, and which I met in Russia at Lake Baikal, and we then traveled together from Kazakhstan on. We traveled together through the Pamir Highway. So I had company there. But up to then, or as well, my first weeks here in Colombia, they were rather difficult at times, being by myself, not being able to talk. But then we have all these social media as well, where I can talk with friends, where I can talk with family. That helps. I think it was difficult 10 years back or so.
I know it's a big question, a bit stupid, but do you derive like a lesson, not a conclusion yet, but a few ideas regarding your own trip, like a few rules that you think you have understood about traveling?
When you travel like this, you just need to be open. And I find when I expect something, when I go up regularly, I'm disappointed, or perhaps I'm not sure, but you need just to be open and
maybe flexible, or
absolutely flexible. Yes, you need to be open and flexible.
Precisely, I don't want to at all to blame the elderly people, but it is this type of qualities or mindsets that you would more expect by young people, and this is what is a bit exceptional in your case. I think is your extreme openness and flexibility. And
you can't do it any other way, I think, particularly when you're alone. I'm
not
sure.
Do you think this is something you had in yourself even before you started to travel, or that you have developed since?
I think
probably you have. I probably to some extent, but I'm sure that I opened up much more.
Yeah.
Because I realized if you don't go towards people, or people taught me as well to be open. So that friendliness and that openness that people brought to me, that is very often something that contradicts our Northern European mindset. We are more kind of, I think, closed, and I was greeted with so much openness, with so much friendliness, and I was taken in so many families, and so much friendship was shown to me, and homes were given to me away from home, that I just learned that people in general, they are friendly, the people in general are nice. So it's easier.
Well, that's my own opinion, but still sometimes you have to break the ice initially to initiate a hello or something like that, and then you got a big welcoming response.
And I think as well you have to put a smile on your face as well very often, right?
Yeah.
And you think, you can't paste it on, but if you tell yourself, be happy, be happy, you can have a smile on your face. Yeah. And this gives everybody an invitation as well to you, and makes people feel appreciated when you smile at them.
Would you have a last message for people maybe who are hesitant or who are guessing about what they're going to do, but still a little bit interested by such, maybe not as long as you, but a long journey? What would you tell them to either encourage them or to give them relevant information about such a project?
Absolutely encouragement. I think learning to travel is perhaps as well like learning to walk. That you have to make smaller steps and bigger steps, and if you never traveled, you won't be able. The fear to go into a project like this will be overwhelming. So you must just travel for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Slowly gain confidence, and I think everyone has fear of what might wait for you if you don't have experience behind that border. What happens when you don't, with all these people that are foreigners to us? But you will find they're just humans. They might speak a different language. They might believe in a different religion, but they all just have their own desires to be happy, to feed their children. So they treat you well. I think that's your experience too, that wherever you go, people are friendly and welcoming.
You talk mostly, when you look at your trip, you talk mostly about the cultural side in a way, or the human side. rather than the natural side. But to me, there is also a very important aspect into the discovery of natural wonders and the fact that you can be even alone in front of a sunset, and it's pure joy. What do you think about that?
Oh, well, I've seen landscapes that were just purely overwhelming. There's wide steppes of Mongolia, or there's mountains in the Hindu Kush, snow-capped with the deep valleys and the Pamir River flowing there, or there's wide desert dunes, these huge dunes in the Rub el Khali in Saudi Arabia, or the architectural wonders of Uzbekistan and Iran, or, it is overwhelming. But I mean, people react differently to different things. So some people travel exclusively for culture, others travel exclusively for landscapes. For me, it's just a mix of it all. Mm-hmm. And I think it belongs together. People in a mountainous area will behave or will be different than people in desert areas. So it all is connected with each other.
What about your van?
My Lola, she's called Lola, lovely old lady.
Lovely old lady.
Yeah, lovely old lady. So she's a 1994 Toyota Hiace. So she's quite old as well now, nearly 28 years old.
For your own project, you had defined very smartly your needs, right?
Yes, I did. One thing, as I mentioned before, it needed to be a vehicle where I can go directly onto the front seat from bed. It needed a vehicle that has a four-wheel drive, because I knew we'll have to drive rough routes.
Let's get inside, maybe. We have a mosquito net here.
Yeah, a very good one.
So this is my living room, bedroom, office, bathroom. Well, bathroom half and half. Yeah. So everything I do here. So this table here can be taken off, and then when I take it off, I can make a bigger bed, so the whole area here can be a bed if I want to do so. So where you are underneath, there's a toilet. So,
are they dry toilet?
No, normal porta potty, but I use chemicals.
Okay.
Just this here, that green thing, that is my wardrobe as well. So when I open it up in the night, I can make it.
Okay.
Can totally close it.
Okay.
But here's one of my big storage boxes. Everything underneath as well. Underneath here, that's another storage, and underneath here, but there I have to access them through the top. Another storage compartments up here. My bed stuff is underneath.
Yeah.
This
here.
Underneath here.
The red stuff. Yeah.
What else? Here, more storage underneath here. Here's the whole electric, the battery charger, all the electric you need for it. I bought myself a lithium battery now. Very good. Yes.
It's very expensive, isn't it?
Oh, it was not that expensive. It was only 400 something euros.
Oh, really?
It's okay. They're getting cheaper.
What?
This is goes in. You can blow air in and take air out, and it's surprisingly quiet. So many people are surprised how quiet it is, and this is invaluable. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez? But because this got a little bit loose, so when I travel now, it's always in. So otherwise, okay. Here's my sink with water. This the separate 10. I have 50 liters of water underneath.
It's all separate. Or
yes.
Is it connected?
Yes. So when with a sink pump. So when 10 liters are empty, I have to put it into a different gas stove with gas bottle underneath here. And then my new fridge. I got a new fridge. Wunderbar. Nice.
Elle picole un peu. Regardez, il y a un peu de vin.
Si, mais très important.
Très important?
Oui. Here storage. Here is my 40-liter jerry cans.
Oh, you've got two 20s.
Yes, and
because
I need
how big is it? Is a normal tank?
65 liters.
65.
Yeah, and here's more stuff.
Oh, yeah,
And
you have
a diesel heater is in here as well to heat the.
And where does the air blow? The hot air?
It takes it on from here.
Yeah.
And it blows it out here, which is not very clever because cold
It's a bit,
here.
it's a bit far away, yeah.
But the room is very small. So the kitchen was already in there. I just added this. And and in the front I've totally built new. There were some normal car seats in there, but I built the whole thing new. And here I put on a bull bar. That's how you call it in Australia. Initially it was higher, and it had as well protected those things, but twice it happens to me that once in Iran and once in Tajikistan, people just in a roundabout just drive from the inner lane out.
So they come very close.
Yeah, they took this. And the color was different too of my car originally, and I let it paint in Saudi Arabia. And included in the price was that they painted my solar panels as well. They painted it, and then I had the paint to be removed, and that destroyed my panels. I had one like you have, one of those, but in Saudi Arabia the wind caught it, and here are my sandboards. Very well used, very often used. Invention, that's the first time it has ever been made as far as I know. This is a new Australian thing in cyclone areas where they have those hurricanes, cyclone and hurricane.
To protect the windows.
And to protect the windows. And I put it there so, with locks as well, so I can sleep with open windows at any time, or I can park the car in the heat with the dog inside and leave the windows open.
So it's time to say goodbye, and we are going to thank very warmly Elisabeth for her contribution.
It was a pleasure. Avec du plaisir.
Avec plaisir.
Avec plaisir.
Et donc maintenant, pour la retrouver sur les routes, il faut venir en Amérique du Sud.
Oui, et je suis pas sûre qu'elle reste si longtemps que ça parce que elle a très envie de retourner en Australie voir son fils.
Yes. Et donc, justement, c'est à l'image de tout le voyage, son projet reste ouvert.
Voilà, donc merci à Elisabeth d'avoir accepté qu'on la filme, qu'on raconte sa jolie histoire, et à bientôt.
Avec plaisir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Ciao.